Hello, I am back with a new video, as you can see, and as is usually the case when I do a new video, it's going to be a little bit informal. It's not like a big great idea of mine, but the videos I want to do are the Tango one and the sponsored compilations one. If you've seen previous videos, I might have mentioned them. I won't be doing them just yet because they're a lot of hassle. So I'm just going to be doing another kind of informal video without much of a strong theme, and it's cassettes I own that are kind of unusual in some respect, cassette tapes. So let's say I'm not going to include single artist albums or singles unless there's something genuinely a little bit offbeat about them. And I won't be including mainstream various artists compilations again unless there's something slightly. Because I don't have loads of cassettes. I don't go out my way to get them necessarily, and get certain ones, but only for a certain purpose. So it's not like I have this big cassette collection and I'm just, it's just a bit of fun in it, really. So yeah, any cassette I own that doesn't really fit into those categories and is maybe something a little bit, like doing a lot of promotional ones, a lot of anyway, yeah. So it's going to be a pretty random collection of tapes, but here we go. We'll start things off with my own cassette. This is The Evil Space Monster by me when I was 9. What happened was I started my second school, and one of the first things we did was we made these sort of drawings, like, well, like with chalk or whatever, of like a scene over several different pieces of like A3 or whatever. And the thing was to do like some sort of space monster. I don't really remember, to be honest, but I know part of it was that we then narrated the story on a cassette, so we just recorded it into a thing. So on side one is me narrating this sort of made up story. Side two is a track called Chocolate Cake. And I'm not even a huge fan of chocolate cake, particularly rich, kind of, yeah. I think the song, if I remember correctly, it's kind of about that. Very weird, just to put something on the B side, because I was 9 and hyperactive. This turns 20 in December. This is December 2006. Oh my lord, I'm not looking forward to that. 20. Get a fag. This is it's not obvious from the front what you're looking at, but this is Ballads and Legends of Somerset by E.H. Burrington, who was the publisher of these. Because then, if you look at it, the reciter is actually one Alan Thomas. So this is a cassette from 1987, in which contains, well, you already know, it contains. Why is it upside down? It's because I'm holding it upside down like an imbecile. So these were published in the Bridgewater Times, a long extinct newspaper, in 1852. So if you want to know a little bit about your kind of local, I mean, I'm Wiltshire, but I'm near Somerset, local legends and fables and so on and so forth. I picked this up at Frome Museum. I used to go to school in Frome. We went there for some sort of school trip. Me and my friend were looking at they had CDs and cassettes and looking at all these sort of odd little local ones. And then the people who ran the little shop just said just take them because no one's ever going to buy them. So they just let me. In fact, they gave me it. They picked it up and gave me Ballads and Legends of Somerset. And my friend walked away with, I think it was like a cider festival CD or cheese festival. I would have liked that one as well, actually. Maybe it's still there, but this was a long time ago now. I'm going to be doing at some point, in theory, a video on Tango, the drink Tango, fizzy drink, their various music releases, promotional releases over the years, two of which are on cassette. So I'll go over those quickly at the start. This is Tango Soul Sounds from 1987. This was a collection of 60s R&B and Northern Soul on this compilation, as you can see. That if you sent away ring pulls from various cans of Tango, you got this free. And I think it's notable that this is 87 because Tango's advertising soon was taken over by HHCL. When you've been Tangoed and all the famous stuff came after that. But at this point, they're trying to be, rather than being wacky and odd, this is kind of quite reverential, isn't it? Trying to be quite stylish because this is 87, the same year that Levi adverts were getting Benny King to number one. It's trying to be suave and cool, like ID magazine or The Face or something with these very cool minimal design and the tasteful selection of songs. So it's kind of bizarre what a 180 tango would do after this. Speaking of tangos, later in the 90s, they're advertising with HHCL. One of the famous adverts is Tango Blackcurrant, St George advert, and the soundtrack to that, which was a new mix, yet another mix of hard bag classic "Don't You Want Me" by Felix, was a single that came out on CD and cassette. I show you this because it has the Tango Blackcurrant branding there. Look, on the tape, slightly less songs than the CD. You've got the new mix, which has Ray Gardner doing his "I Drink Blackcurrant Tango," and you've got the classic huge mix. So, what I quite like about this as well is the original huge mix in '92 was like the foundation of Hardbag, if you will. Hardbag by '95, '96 was everywhere. There was already a Patrick Quins mix in '95 that was a top 10 hit, and then this reached number 17. And again, it's a Hardbag mix. So it's like this is a song that took full advantage of the movements it's predicted. Okay, so this was released on LP as well. Um, Music from Emmerdale Farm Church, courtesy of Yorkshire Television, of course. This is from 1985, and it's a bunch of church service, CCM hymns, and it's all happy clapper stuff. Very 1985 sounding with its electric piano and whatever. But yeah, if you want to stop and give, I mean, I can't imagine anyone cares. Yeah, so there was an Emmerdale Farm church music album with ostensibly some of the cast are there, but it was actually the church which is in the show. It's their natural congregation, I believe. But checks this out from Corrie and EastEnders, who both did. They also did an album of songs performed in a localized place, but they were both music hall ones. There was a Corrie one in the '60s, an EP Sing Along at the Rover's Return, which all the cast of the time singing pub favourites in the pub. And then EastEnders did one the same year as this, '85. Theirs was like an EastEnders sing along, and it's so mechanical and it's so different than the Corrie one. Um, it's actually kind of funny after a while. Whereas the Corrie one it tries to be like a party. The EastEnders one is so they're just singing it, then they're singing it and singing it. It's all very produced and naff. This is also very naff, but there we are. So that was a Yorkshire Television release. ITV releases ones I collect, and the next one is also this is from the auspices of GMTV. Music for Wellbeing with Dr. Hilary Jones. This is a double cassette, obviously, hence the bigger size. And you may, if you've seen my video, the last video I did of just random TV, radio, and advert related releases I got, you would have already seen this, but on CD. Um, so it's meant to be a guided meditation tape, two tapes, where he does his thing, and the music in the background is classical classics and a bunch of new age tap, and that sort of fits in, but doesn't really. Yeah, so I own this from 1999, and it has you see GMTV sponsoring there, so that's why I picked it up. Okay, so these ones are genuinely quite odd. I'm going to start then with this Air Cool's greatest hit from Cellular Radio. This was a cassette, though it doesn't say it on the actual tape, from 1985, um, which is a part lecture, part collection of songs, part comedy skits about the new innovation of the time, which was a car phone, um, courtesy of. This is why I'm a little bit confused because Air Cool and Cellnet were rivals, but they appear to have collaborated on this car phone. So all the songs are parodies of sort of famous songs, well, pastiches, I should say. Now about this car phone innovation, being able to speak as you drive, as you go around your daily business. And there's a guy comes on at various points and explains the new service. And there's like say comedy skits. It's really odd little thing. Cellnet later became BT Cellnet, later to become O2. This is a really kind of an odd one, this one. And it's a proper album length release as well. It has proper production values. Who knows who is pumping money into this. But yeah, the idea was you listen to it in the car. So there we go. Cellular radio. by air. Cool. That's the technology. Okay, so keeping it in the realm of telephones, promotional releases for telephones, British Telecom, campaign update, spring 88, Salesforce information cassette. How utilitarian is this? I love it. I love it to bits. This was a cassette, as you can see, in spring 88, given to the BT Salesforce. It's 7 minutes long. It basically, I don't know, encouraging them to do their job well, and it has the Maureen Lipman "You Got an Ology" advert on there. It's quite a humorous presentation, like a little 7 minute lecture with samples of things and that, and there's like a little funky little jingle in it that reminds me of one of the Two Tribes mixes. Um, Otherwise, look completely blank. But this is on YouTube if you want to hear it, along with some other BT cassettes that I don't own. But one of them on there is well, the only one that's available to listen to, but isn't this one, is one about blind people learning to use direct inquiry services and telephone boxes. And that was a few years after this. There's one with Dennis Norden, but who knows what's on that one? All I know is it's a BT cassette with Dennis Norden. But no, this is one of the oddest ones I own for sure. This would have been given to your BT Salesforce in '88. Send them to to do their jobs quite well. I'm going to be showing some magazine cover mount cassettes, just because why not? One of which, actually, I've not opened, and I don't remember when I bought it. It must have been quite a long time ago. But it is Fatboy Slim's Beat Up the Enemy mix for Enemy, of course, in 1997. And you've got this nice, great selection of tracks. You've got Fly Life on there, Basement Jacks, which is probably my favourite single of '97. That's like one of the three sort of big consensus tracks because you've also got Monkey Mafia, Learn in the Hall, Double 99 Rip Groove, the other great 12 inch of my other favourite 12 inch of the year. So they're all on the annual free. So yeah, he's got a few crowd pleasers, but otherwise a lot of sort of breakbeat and sort of hip hoppy kind of stuff. This was obviously so '97, so it's the year before he kind of broke through. The Chemical Brothers, when they were the Dust Brothers, they also did the same thing for Enemy. They did their own mix called Enemy Dust Up, Xmas Dust Up. So it's interesting that because the Enemy usually they're just sort of their cassettes were pretty standard indie compilations, sometimes of radio sessions and stuff. So having a couple of DJ mixes, I think, is quite cool for the time. And yeah, even though this is not open, I've heard it several times. It's on YouTube and Mixcloud. And speaking of radio sessions cover mounts, I do have one I can show you, which is Live and Unreleased, which came free in Vox magazine in 1991, and it's got a load of student-y bands on there. Jesus Jones, Local Heroes. I am a collision pop truther, so I like my Jesus Jones and EMF, and even maybe my Neds a little bit. Um, Elsewhere, you got sort of jangly stuff, the Liverpool Teenage Fan Club and all that, which stuff I'm slightly less interested in. I love Paris Angels. They managed to be the most Mancunian of all Manchester bands in terms of sound. The real people, So anyway, yeah, I forgot to mention. So these are all exclusive tracks from the sessions of BBC One Radio disc jockey Mark Goodyear. Another one from Vox magazine I should have showed earlier. Radio One presents Oasis of Burnage. What's the story? The BBC Radio One documentary uh, in association with Vox, BBC Radio One. This was a documentary then made. First transmission date was the 3rd of September '95, a month before What's the Story Morning Glory was released. So this is a story of their meteoric rise before anyone really had even heard that Wonderwall one or that Don't Look Back in Anger one, and so on. I like it when magazines do this. They released a documentary thing on the audio documentary. There was even a Stereophonics one a few years later with Melody Maker, again with Radio One. Um, you've got some idea of what big deal they apparently were for a certain demographic at a certain time. But yes, okay. So in December '96, Smash Hits magazine, one of their cover mounts was Smash Hits Star Secret New Year's Messages, which features over two sides of the cassette. Very quickly, it features basically very simple New Year messages and New Year's resolutions from various pop acts of the day, many of which are boy bands, all boy band members. like Peter Andre, well, not a boy band member. You got, yeah, Real to Real, Brother to Brother, Damage, Anton Deck, 911, the various Boyzone Boys. If you look on the back, it says "Look inside" for more secret messages, which basically means the people who weren't around to actually record 2 seconds of them saying Happy New Year, which includes Tony Mortimer. You can't really see this, but I don't want to bend it. And the Spice Girls in a similar style. But I've not actually heard this one yet. In fact, I've not even opened it yet. I got it in the post. But from Top of the Pops magazine in '95. This is Party Party Party, and it has, again, it's all sort of songs, gossip, and messages from the stars of Top of the Pops magazine Christmas Party is how it puts it. And again, we've got Ant and Deck. We've got similar names there. Louise again. Yeah, M&A, only the big boy band of '95, like no one members, and the Ream, they're sort of on their way out. Cher pop is there, surprisingly. I will listen to this. I don't know how long it is because that this one, even though it looks quite bulky, it's only 10 minutes long. I expect this is quite similar in that regard. And there is another one of these I don't own from the following year. So yeah, these are both purely spoken word. If I've not emphasised this enough, there's no music on them. It's just Happy New Year. We've had a good 1996 or '95, and this one's This is a cassette in association with Clark's, the street-based shoe vendor. And it's also blue. It's just a little EP of songs. Ant and Deck, Peter Andre, and this is from '97. Ant and Deck making their third appearance, and there are the songs. This is the true '90s because none of these are like the most obvious songs you would pick from them now. Ant and Deck with their first single as Ant and Deck. Better Watch Out, bit of a weird one. Peter Andre, Natural Clock. Yeah, none of these are the best known songs by any of these artists, which is what we love. So yeah, I don't understand the circumstances under which it was just given. Maybe if you bought, like, maybe teenagers got some shoes. If you bought a certain amount of shoes, you got this free tape. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Okay, so another radio DJ in association with a brand, courtesy of Smith's Crisps. Before most of their stock was folded into Walkers, though of course Smith still exists as a brand. They do Scampy Fries and is it Chipsticks and Smoky Bacon Crisps, pub classics. My local used to sell those back in the good, proper pub snacks. But no, this is Kid Jensen's Chart Blasters cassette. Top 10 hits, top 10 tracks by original artists. So he comes on this cassette, and it's like a radio show, like a fake radio show, which our favourite Canadian Radio 1 DJ, he presents this collection of songs. So on there, Manic Monday by the Bangles, King, not with Love and Pride, but with one of the forgotten follow-ups, Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but of course it should be Wanted to Have Fun. Paul Young with his American number one, Every Time You Go Away. By then, he'd already had his British number one. DC Lee, See the Day, love that song. Bit of a lost classic in terms of, as much as a top three hit can be. It's like a tango, isn't it? Although I guess it's technically a waltz, but with the lurching orchestral strings, I just think of tango. Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero is on there. The exact midpoint between sort of gay disco, high energy, and AOR arena rock, which shows that at the peak of the high '80s, even music with different cultural associations, very different ones, could kind of blur into one thing if it was produced in a certain way. We got Shaky, Dead or Alive, You Spin Me Round, but not like a record apparently. No parenthesis. That is a proper high energy record, unlike Bonnie, I guess. Alison Moyet, All Cried Out, and then unusually there's a little Thriller at the end by Michael Jackson. I say unusual because Adult MJ never appeared on compilations. There was, some artists has never appeared, like cross licensing was just not allowed. But bizarrely, Thriller was on this and on the Hits album from a few years before this, number one, the first Hits compilation. And then years later, when I was 11, it was on Now 25 Years. I don't know what it is about that song. Maybe Rod he's allowed a payday every now and then. A little of because he wrote that one, of course. I don't often see him on compilations, and he probably never will anyway. No, despite sanitized biopic. Anyway, I'm going off topic. And look, signature from Kid Jensen. So this is, yeah, nice little cassette. Very mastered very loudly. I got it I listened to it and it was very loud. Okay, so I've got a couple here from BBC Radio. Other than the BBC Radio one sort of releases I've already showed you, but this is Around the World with Radio 4 and Andy Kershaw. There were quite a few of these BBC Radio 4 sort of presentation compilations that have a host, in this case Andy Kershaw, talking you through a bunch of clips and sound bites. So like there was Tony Robinson did one, like a comedy one, as did Caroline Quentin. Kershaw did another one as well. There were a few, and they all have this the 90s BBC Radio 4 logo. So this is from 97, slightly before the logo change passed over. And it features your man talking you through a bunch of, because he had his show on Radio 4, where he did various things from around the world, including his anthropology work and musicology work, particularly in Africa. So there's a clip here of him. It says Andy Kershaw eavesdrop on musicians in Mali, and then you've got, the idea is it's like a travelogue, like a sort of around the as it says around the world, with Radio 4. And I actually bought this 2 days before he died, so that was a bit freaky. Then, if you'd seen my last video where my hair was a disgrace, no, it is much better today, but it was just a mess. Where I talk about other radio and TV related releases, you would have seen already. This is Radio Goal, which is a BBC Radio 5 associated release. There aren't many of them. In fact, this is probably the only one. It came free with a football magazine, and it's a collage of Radio 5 football commentary with Ian Brody's Lightning Seeds music from the Jollification album, mostly in the background. Side A presents basically like a documentary of the goals with a presenter while the music shoved in the background. The second one gets rid of the presenter on side B, so it's just the Lightning Seeds music and the sound of the football without any without, well, with the radio commentary, but not the new presentation. So it's more like music concrete, I suppose, if you want to be so fanciful. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Maybe some of those cassettes were of interest to you. Maybe they weren't. All the same,